Xinhua just ran a high-profile commemorative article praising the three transformations the CCP launched right after taking power in the early 1950s.
The three transformations weren't some gentle look back at history. In the early days of CCP rule, they were a systematic, bloody political campaign to wipe out private ownership.
Today, China's wealth structure is completely different. The rich now are the CCP's own people. Once this campaign really starts, the first wave hits these red families.
This probably carries policy signals about where the regime is heading. And it ties directly to the fierce power struggle over the top job at the 21st Party Congress.
Small fry have only a few hundred million. Touch these red families and we're talking tens of billions, hundreds of billions, even trillions, and several families worth tens of trillions.
By rolling out the three transformations right now, Cai Qi is deliberately stirring up chaos, aimed at the strongest anti-Xi forces, the princelings and officials' children, that group of big capitalists. Welcome to PinnacleView, I'm Xishan. In the past few days, Xinhua ran a high-profile commemorative article praising the three transformations the CCP launched right after taking power in the early 1950s, calling it an unprecedented, profound social transformation that gave Chinese-style modernization a solid institutional foundation and valuable experience. The moment it came out, it set off an uproar. China's private business owners, already living in fear, were left utterly crushed. Because an article like this is probably not just a look back at the past, it likely carries policy signals about where the regime is heading. And of course, it ties directly to the fierce power struggle over the top job at the 21st Party Congress. Who exactly would be the target of Xi Jinping's socialist transformation? Can he pull it off? And what feints is he using to deliberately sow chaos? Our guests today, veteran journalist Ms. Guo and independent producer Li Jun. All right, first a quick word from our sponsor. We recommend Puritang's Xuanbao Black Ginseng. It's steamed the traditional way, then refined at the molecular level, so it absorbs far better than red or white ginseng. And it's mild, it won't overheat your system. Spend $500 at Puritang and you get a free root of Xuanbao Black Ginseng, 9 times steamed and sun-dried. At checkout, enter the PinnacleView promo code JYLT for free worldwide shipping. Many older viewers have seen real improvement after taking Puritang's Black Ginseng. There are 2 products, an oral liquid, but what I really recommend is the 15-root box set of whole black ginseng. $600 a box with an extra root. Great value. Take it home, stew it in chicken soup. It's a real tonic, and it makes a wonderful gift for family and friends. So, Li Jun, I read this Xinhua article. It's short, not many words, but it ran at a very high level. The article got extensive media coverage. People's Daily Online and all the rest carried it. You worked inside the CCP's media. In a case like this, does it mean there's a very high-level order telling them to do it?
I read the report, and an order like this could only come straight from Xi Jinping. Even Cai Qi couldn't decide this. First, because the article is mainly about the public-private mergers of the 1950s, right? Put bluntly, that was seizing the property of landlords and capitalists. In Marxist terms, it's called abolishing private ownership, abolishing private property, full public ownership, everything belongs to the state. It has a nice name, socialist transformation. So what's the key point? After China's reform and opening up in 1978, you could say the CCP itself rejected this road. Because if it hadn't, you couldn't have the rural household contract system, and you couldn't have private firms in the cities. Later, the CCP even passed laws protecting private property, right? So in terms of the development path from Deng Xiaoping on through every CCP leader since, they all rejected this road of abolishing private property. But now, all of a sudden, they're loudly embracing that road again. This is a major shift in thinking, a change in the development path itself, and this kind of thing isn't something Cai Qi could pull off on his own. Cai Qi personally wouldn't dare to change the whole party's policy direction, and he's not the supreme leader, so this order could only come from Xi Jinping. And there's a whole paragraph in the article of Xi Jinping's own assessment of the Three Transformations campaign, and it's extremely positive. Xi says, after New China was founded, our party led the people to creatively complete the socialist transformation and establish the basic socialist system. The Chinese people not only stood up, they stood firm, they stood strong. In his eyes, this was an entirely good thing. 40 million starved to death? Doesn't count. And in their eyes, killing off 2 or 3 million landlords doesn't count either. This article is short, but after reading it, speaking as a media person, I think it carries enormous weight because it's a change of the whole line, right? It's not some minor detail, and this change, I think, is a terrifying one.
Right. Let's first explain what the three transformations actually involved. We should walk our audience through it, right?
The three transformations weren't a gentle history lesson. In the early years of CCP rule, they were a systematic, bloody campaign to abolish private ownership. The full name is the Socialist Transformation of Agriculture, Handicrafts, and Capitalist Industry and Commerce, the business owners, and it ran roughly from 1953 to 1956. It was a key part of the general line for the transition period: one transformation, three reforms. Its core was very clear: gradually turn private ownership of the means of production into socialist public ownership. Farming and handicrafts took the cooperative road. Capitalist commerce transferred ownership through public-private mergers.
And the official line was what? Peaceful, a so-called buyout.
Right? The buyout policy. But the actual process was full of coercion, violence, even bloodshed.
Mostly in the countryside. The cities had it a bit easier, it seems.
A bit easier, but still brutal. Simply put, the farmer's land, the craftsmen's workshops, the factories and machines of private firms, all taken from private hands into public ownership. So the essence of the three transformations: in just a few years, kill first, then convert, struggle first, then merge, and basically wipe out private ownership in farming, handicrafts, and industry, building the so-called socialist public ownership economy.
Right. And this was no accident. China's biggest socialist transformation was actually in the countryside, where the most people were affected. In 1956, China formally introduced household registration. Before that, there was none. Back then, a farmer could go to the city, find a place, pull a cart, whatever, and become a city resident. After that, you could never move to the city again. So the farmers were given land in name. That was the revolution handed to them. From 1950 to 1953, the land was handed over. Then from 53, they started taking it back. And by 56, they were slaves, stripped of personal freedom. Cheap labor.
Slaves, plain slaves.
Completely enslaved. So Ms. Guo, I want to ask, how do you see this? For Xi Jinping, does he want to do this transformation in the future too? His transformation. The old one seized the property of private owners. So if he does it again, is he just trying to grab money? Or is it a rigid ideology at work? How do you read this? At this stage of social development, does he still need to do this kind of transformation? Does he need to do it all over again?
Honestly, these two are the same thing. Call it ideology or robbery. At root, it's the same, because the party's ideology was built to serve robbery from the start. Marx said it plainly in the Communist Manifesto. Communist theory comes down to one line: abolish private ownership. Many Chinese economists have described private entrepreneurs' mindset. Needing us is a reluctant choice. Tolerating private firms is a reluctant choice. Wiping us out is the noble ideal.
When the economy's good, we'll go realize the ideal. When it's bad, we're stuck with the reluctant choice.
Exactly. The article is dated June 19th, less than 2 weeks before the July 1st party anniversary. That date wasn't random. It fits the propaganda push for the party's 105th anniversary. The article got labeled great and sincere, and every major outlet reposted it. This is the direction of Xi's new era narrative. Take the Mao era, a liability, and recast it as an asset. It hands Xi a toolbox of old Mao era policies, things long shelved, now dusted off again, a re-Maoization of China's economy and society.
What does remaoization mean?
Going back to Mao Zedong,
Oh, remaoization again, okay.
they're laying some groundwork in public opinion. The method now isn't quite the same as the public-private mergers of the 1950s. What the CCP runs today is nationalization without a declaration. Every step hides behind a legal pretext, advancing on many fronts to eat away at other people's property. First, send in a party committee, then push mixed ownership, then let state capital take a veto through a golden share. Look at the internet giants Alibaba, Tencent, how state capital got in. Everyone saw it. There's an even nastier move, original sin reckoning. China's private firms, their early accumulation in the 1990s and early 2000s, how much of it was done in the gray zone? A lot. Cheap land transfers relied on a local official's quiet nod. Capital accumulation couldn't avoid off-book money. IPOs relied on dressed-up books, and the CCP kept the complete historical records. It saved everything. It never bothered to clean this up before, but when it needs to, that time has come. Has it come now? The CCP calls it scientific pig farming.
Fatten them up, then slaughter.
Right, so the debt problem is supposedly resolved, but underneath, it's robbing Peter to pay Paul. The center treats it as a contract. Policy arrears under 500,000 yuan are to be cleared by end of 2025, but that's small change. The real problem is overall deflation. Money is printed but can't be lent out because there's no consumer demand, no consumer market was built, so the money just circles inside the system. The Economist reported on this trap. China's entrepreneurs are vanishing mysteriously at a stunning rate. Gone, mysteriously, fast, all the ones who used to be everywhere transformed away. Almost every time another boss gets taken out. Xi said himself that private firms are our own people and must be protected, but the reality is bosses keep jumping off buildings getting arrested. So my judgment, this isn't just ideology at work, and it isn't a carefully designed master plan. The two grow from the same root. Private firms now contribute about 60% of GDP, over 70% of innovation, over 80% of urban jobs. Any large-scale upheaval is surgery that damages that economic base. It's dismembering it. But Xi's logic was never efficiency first. It's control first, security first. So the party's most powerful tool is political violence. It rose to power on it. It took the country on it. Now the economy's in trouble, so what does it reach for? That tool, of course, comes out first. Even if the center wanted restraint, local finances are already this bad, so localities will move on their own first.
But if the CCP runs another transformation, many say what gets transformed now is all its own people, meaning this time, the ones being killed are its own people, right?
Right? That's the key question today. In the 1950s, the targets were outsiders, capitalists, landlords, craftsmen, all class enemies in their eyes. But today, China's wealth structure is completely different. The rich now are the CCP's own people.
The CCP itself has the money.
Right. China's wealth is highly concentrated, basically held by 500 big families, more than half of all private wealth in China. And within those 500 families, princelings and officials' children make up a large share. How did they get rich? On their parents' posts in the party, government and military, on turning state assets, land, contracts, and licenses into their own family fortunes. So if you run the three transformations now and take private property back into public hands, the target isn't outsiders, it's these insiders. And there's the basic contradiction. Xi uses an ideological iron fist to seize private property, but the biggest holders of private property happen to be the party's own big families, from Politburo members' families down to the regional power holders in every province. Which of them isn't sitting on a fortune? Once this campaign really starts, the first wave hits these red families, not private capitalists.
Okay?
So Xi's purge isn't an attack from outside, it's churning inside his own camp. In the three transformations, capitalists leapt to their deaths. Today, it's the CCP's own officials and families. The CCP has always been this system: rob others, then rob each other inside, and in the end, no one is safe.
I've noticed some people online in their analysis argue that for Xi, this is part of Xi Jinping thought, a key part. That the first 30 years can't negate the last 30, and the last 30 can't negate the first 30, he just fudges it. Put plainly, you can't use the Mao era to negate the Deng era, or the Deng era to negate the Mao era. That's basically the idea. So they argue this is just an exposition of Xi Jinping thought, not that they're really going to act on it. That his head and his hands are separate. It's the want it both ways. I want to go east and west at once, which can't hold, but that's the contradictory spot he's in. The CCP's big motive now is that the economy's in trouble, and it needs to scrape up money. We keep saying this. That's just how they are. She keeps saying we must stay true to our original aspiration. Then think about what the party's original aspiration really was: robbery. What were they doing back in Jingangshan and Yan'an? Think about it and you know. When he's in trouble, what does he do? That's the method, true to its roots. Back then it was because he had no money, right? Now the economy's really that bad, and a lot of government bodies have to rob just to keep running.
Right, this year the economy really is terrible. One thing stands out. Late last year, Xi said he'd personally take charge of boosting domestic demand, spurring consumption. And half a year on, by May, it had fizzled out. China's economy hit another low point. On June 15th, Bloomberg ran an analysis saying growth is slowing. Consumption keeps falling. By May, national retail sales were down 0.6% year-on-year. What's that? The first drop since the post-pandemic reopening in 2022. Consumption rarely falls. Car sales fell double digits for 6 straight months, and by May, they crashed 22%. That's cuts to EV subsidies plus falling oil prices hitting fuel car sales, and consumer confidence sank to its lowest since 2025. That's consumption. And fixed asset investment January to May was down 2.3% year-on-year, and in May alone, down 7%.
So it's accelerating.
Right. So what showed up in May? Consumption and investment falling at the same time. These are the two engines we always watched most closely, right? One's investment, one's consumption, and there's real estate, which we won't even get into. Property, January to May, also fell about 15%. When both turn negative at once, that breaks a historical record. Why? In the last 30 years, when did consumption first go negative? In 2020, it was 3.9%. That was the pandemic, everyone stuck at home. That minus 3.9%, the Wuhan outbreak, lockdowns everywhere, mass deaths, so consumption went negative. But investment still grew 2.9% that year, right during the pandemic. Investment still grew, propped up by infrastructure and manufacturing. When was the second time consumption went negative? In 2022, the reopening. Right after reopening, huge numbers got infected, huge numbers died. So consumption went negative again, but investment still grew, right? Then in 2025, for the first time, what happened? Investment went negative, down 3.8% in 2025, with government and private investment both pulling out. But consumption was still positive, 3.7%, propped up by what? Trade-in subsidies. But by May this year, what happened? Consumption and investment, both negative. Like I said, it broke the record.
So 2026 could be far worse than before. So now everyone's broke. You can still grab, but grab what? Right now.
I think the smart ones probably started moving their assets out long ago. Look how many naked officials the CCP has. Just the ones I personally know are a big crowd, because inside the system, they know exactly what the party is, what private property or your personal wealth really means. The party can seize your assets with ease. The best move is to get them overseas fast, into Switzerland, into America, where it's safe. Think about it, from last year to now, wasn't it $1 trillion in capital that moved out in US dollars? Everyone knows the deal. But on the flip side, plenty of people and plenty of assets are still inside China. That's the thing. And the CCP's controls are now highly modern, high-tech, from police to state security to the banks to all the transaction monitoring, including your movements, the smart cities. Add it all up, and if it really comes to take your money, then officials and ordinary people alike, there's truly nothing you can do. I think the CCP can't suddenly rob the whole population because in the end that really would spark a revolt. Robbing ordinary people's money is pointless. But these people, most likely, I think the money it moves on starts from the princelings and officials' children, the top tycoons. Because in past political campaigns, the CCP's standard play was to label 5% the enemy. 95% are safe, and that 5% suffers. Then from the remaining 95%, it picks another 5%, round after round. The CCP is just that twisted to the core. Honestly, the most endangered are which ones? The rich, who are also Xi's political enemies, they'd probably be the first targets, I think.
Right, but there's also word that Xi is talking with the anti-Xi side, that they want to talk, hammer something out, negotiate. Word is, if talks fail, it could really come to bayonets and bloodshed. That's where it might go. Of course, we don't mean ordinary people at the bottom. They can't escape. It reaches you in the end. It'll start with the rich, especially those who made a killing over the past 2 or 3 decades. What the Maoist left calls the capitalist roaders, still on that road, the very top ones. The rich who want to move money abroad, they now call these people capitalist roaders. So have you heard this news?
I've heard it too, that they've been negotiating these past days because both sides are out for blood now. From May's big explosions till now, both sides. Take Peking University's president stepping down. No normal exit like that. Pushing Chen Shi out, you wouldn't humiliate someone down to vice bureau rank. This is like Mao's day.
Right, Mao venting his anger at Peng Dehuai. Xi Zhongxun is exactly that case. He was rank 4, and they knocked him straight down to rank 13, sent off to a machinery plant in Luoyang as a deputy director. But that's basically bureau rank, isn't it?
Humiliating. Both sides are launching humiliating counterstrikes back and forth, and now Tsai Chi's move pushes it to another peak. So after the Zhang Youxia incident, the trust between Xi, the princelings, the conservatives, and officials' children has completely broken down, and that break can't be undone. This isn't a policy gap or even a line dispute. It's life and death, and both sides know it. Lose now and you're nothing. You have nothing. So what is there to negotiate? At most, both sides need time to arm and regroup, not real reconciliation. So why keep up the appearance of stability? Because both sides share one bottom line. They can't let this ship, the CCP ship, capsize. If it capsizes, everyone's finished. Xi's finished. The princelings are finished. So both sides are putting on a show, keeping up normal operations on the surface, but underneath it's already a vicious power struggle. The political balance of the Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao years, several camps inside the party checking each other, keeping things running, that era is over. Now, princeling elders like Liu Yuan and Deng Pufang aren't unwilling to find a way out. The question is what vehicle, what road? So Xi holds a few cards now. Tens of thousands of armed troops in the Beijing garrison, the underworld and police muscle in every province, plus the part of Xi's faction he still controls. That's enough to manufacture chaos and fear. He doesn't need to win, just to leave his opponents unable to move. That, I think, is his current strategy. But what he really wants is the vast fortunes hidden in those big families' hands, the assets moved overseas through decades of complex maneuvers. To grab it all back, there's one precondition. You have to seal the borders, seal them shut. Once the money's gone, nothing else matters.
Lock down the people, lock down the money.
Right, but today's China is completely different from the 1950s. China's trade dependence and its links to the global financial system now mean one move shakes the whole body. Force the doors shut, and the immediate result is economic collapse, foreign capital fleeing, supply chains snapping, trade grinding to a halt. At that point, it's not about grabbing money. The whole system collapses first, so Xi's road is a dead end. But the anti-Xi road has its own fatal flaw. Their thinking is basically still to save the party, operate inside the CCP framework, the in-party line. The problem is, use this vehicle and you can never escape its fundamental flaw. You can't win the people's real support or international recognition. You can only fight inside the party and end up checked by each other, attacked inside and out at once. So this so-called negotiation, my judgment is, Even a temporary deal is just a stalling tactic. The real question isn't whether Xi can cut a deal with some faction. It's that the CCP system itself has entered a dead knot with no exit, and whoever wins, as long as they work inside this framework, the ending, I think, is the same.
Right. There's another problem I see. These people now, the very rich and the very powerful, are all armed with Mao Zedong thought. Mao Zedong thought says, press the beaten foe, don't court fame like the conqueror, compromise on the surface, and tomorrow they turn around and stab you dead. So at the top, who can trust whom? Who dares trust whom? We can see how Xi operates, how Cai Qi operates, and the others in the CCP officialdom now, including Wang Shouhong's crowd. How do they operate? They promise on the surface, fine, but does it count? Can you trust it? What do you guarantee it with? Behind all this is Mao's playbook, Mao Zedong's, the open schemes, the plots and open schemes, that shadow you can never shake off.
It won't go away.
So how do you negotiate? When no one trusts anyone, how do you negotiate? There's no third party, no court to enforce, no witness, and they don't dare tell the public. In the end, they kill you off for nothing, right? So today, the three transformations look like a history lesson on the surface, but underneath it may be a very dangerous political signal. When the economy hits a wall and the power struggle hits a wall with no way out, the party's go-to move is to manufacture enemies and launch a campaign using political violence to redistribute wealth all over again. That's what we said. When you're holding a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? It's the method it knows best, its most powerful tool, and it may well come to this. So the future may really go this way, but this time what it faces isn't like before. The old CCP were all poor men. In the 1950s, they were poor, and robbing made them giddy with joy. Now it's robbing its own. Today, you're an insider. Tomorrow, an enemy. Today, an enemy. Tomorrow, maybe an insider. These are red families that hold the resources and the power. And whether it's Xi's camp or the anti-Xi camp, neither can escape the trap by trying to save the party. And the disasters ahead will only get worse. Well, thank you to both our guests today, and thank you all for watching. See you next time.